Hello, I'm Allison Batty from Blossoming Heart Counseling. I'm a somatic therapist specializing in trauma, and I'm also a yoga therapist. Thank you for joining me for a short trauma-informed yoga practice for mental well-being. I acknowledge it takes courage to take time out of your busy day for self-care. I invite you to explore this gentle practice with curiosity. It is designed to assist you in deepening the ways you listen to your own innate wisdom. For those of you who have experienced adversity, it is not uncommon to experience disconnection to your felt sense, your emotions, and even your thoughts. For others, you might experience sensations, thoughts, and emotions as overwhelming. Neuroscience research shows that our body holds trauma and stress in our muscles, in our fascia, in our nervous system, and in the neural pathways in our brain. You might have also heard that the current research shows that a regular yoga practice can actually assist you in not only increasing your self-awareness, but your ability to sit with these experiences without judgment and with a little bit more compassion. It can bring in feelings of deep connection and regulation of the nervous system, as well as present moment awareness. Before I begin, I want you to know that everything I suggest is just that, a suggestion. If you feel called to experiment with the practice, I invite you to do so. And if you feel like you want to shift the practice in any way, perhaps doing something different than I am suggesting, I invite you to listen to your own unique wisdom. Let's get started. I invite you to find a comfortable seat, either sitting as I am, perhaps on a prop, a blanket, a bolster, a towel, or a blanket, or you can sit cross-legged with one leg in front of the other. Many of you may have come from work or from the busyness of the day, so I invite you to take a moment to settle into your seat, perhaps bringing your awareness inward, whatever that means to you. Either finding a soft place to gaze or allowing the eyes to gently close. It is important to be aware from a trauma-informed lens that sometimes when we close our eyes, it can bring us really deeply inward, which may bring us into awareness with sensations, emotions, or thoughts that can feel overwhelming and challenging. And if you find at any time during this practice that you feel flooded or overwhelmed with any sensations or emotions or thoughts, I invite you to open your eyes and do this practice with your eyes open. That can help you to bring in more present moment awareness. I invite you to take a moment to notice any sensations, emotions, or thoughts. Perhaps experimenting with the idea that these sensations, these emotions, these thoughts are parts of you. That there's an aspect of you that is a witnesser, that is unharmed and whole, that is observing these parts that are experiencing some form of distress or discomfort. Perhaps noticing with curiosity, acceptance, and non-judgment, as if these are younger versions of yourself. If what I'm suggesting feels challenging, that's all right. It's a new concept for many of us to think that we have parts and that we're not just one whole being. If you're noticing any discomfort with that idea, perhaps just offer yourself the phrase, may I someday be able to accept all of myself with compassion. Yoga involves mindfulness, and that involves focusing on a chosen object, Today, we are going to choose to focus on our breath. Again, this is an invitation, so if you feel called to focus on something else, I invite you to do that too. But if you feel called to experiment with focusing on the breath, today we're going to try linking the breath with the movement and balancing the breath so the inhalation and the exhalation are the same length. I invite you to take a moment to focus on your breath. Perhaps noticing if it has a shape, a texture, a quality. Perhaps noticing where it resides in your body. Perhaps noticing the length of the inhalation and the length of the exhalation. Try not to shift or change it. Just accept it as it is. Sometimes the weights and worries of the world might lead our breath to be short and shallow and not very long in length. This leads to our sympathetic nervous system, or the up-regulator of our nervous system, or the fight or flight aspect of our nervous system, to be hyper-aroused. During yoga, when we focus on our breath and set the intention to deepen and slow it, it helps to bring our parasympathetic nervous system online, which is the down regulator for rest and digest. I invite you now to take a moment to do just that. To set the intention to breathe in to the lower rib cage, perhaps imagining that there is a tube surrounding your lower rib cage and you are breathing into it. Perhaps setting the intention to inhale on a 4 count and exhale on a 4 count. Again, this is just a suggestion. If a 4 count feels too long or too short, I invite you to experiment with finding a length that feels comfortable for your unique needs. On the next inhale, I invite you to rise your arms overhead. And as you exhale, lower your arms. Inhale, arms overhead. Exhale, arms down. Go ahead and repeat this sequence on your own pace 2 more times. I invite you to use your imagination, to imagine that the air that you breathe is love, is light, is prana, or life force energy. And as you breathe in the air, it enters every cell of your body. And as it oxygenates and enters every cell of your body, it reveals the love, the light, the wholeness, the prana and life force energy that is you. Again, I invite you to imagine that this wholeness, this prana that is you, is observing and witnessing all sensations, all emotions, all thoughts with curiosity, acceptance, non-judgment, and even compassion. On your next exhale, I invite you to pause. I invite you now to lean to the right so that your right ear is coming down towards your right shoulder and your eyes are gazing up towards the left. And I invite you to hold this sequence for 3 breaths. This helps with integration of the right and left hemisphere of the brain. And on your next inhalation, rise up. And on your next exhalation, lean left. I again invite you to hold this pause with your eyes gazing to the right, left ear towards your left shoulder, allowing the shoulders to drop for 3 cycles. On your next exhale, I invite you to rise. For many of us, it can feel uncomfortable to slow down. We're so used to being in the busyness of the day that moving slowly can sometimes feel a little unsettling. If you're observing this within yourself, just observe it as a part of you and offer it some acceptance, some curiosity, some non-judgment, and some compassion. On the next inhale, I invite you to raise your arms overhead. And as you exhale, lower your arms and twist right. Inhale, arms overhead. Exhale, arms lower, twist left. On your own pace, we're going to repeat this cycle, inhaling our arms up, exhaling our arms down. Go ahead and repeat for 2 more cycles. It is normal for the mind to wander. And if you're observing your mind wandering during this practice, just acknowledge that you have parts thinking and just encourage them to bring their awareness back to the breath. In a mindfulness practice, the purpose is not to not think. It is to gently bring your focus back to the object that you have chosen to focus on if you notice your mind wandering. At any time during this practice, if you notice your mind wandering, I encourage you to just gently bring your attention back to your breath. On your next exhale, I invite you to return to center and place your hands in your lap, perhaps pausing for a moment to notice. If you're not already doing so, I invite you to change your seated position so that your right leg is in front of your left leg. On your next inhalation, you're going to raise your arms overhead, and as you exhale, you're going to bend forward as far as your body is comfortable. Some of us are very flexible and may be able to get all the way to the floor, while others might need to pause. I encourage you to listen to your body's unique needs and to only go as far as you can before you feel any pain. We never want to experience pain in yoga, as it can trigger a stress response of holding of the breath, and it also can injure us. Take a few moments to hold and breathe in this position, perhaps noticing the felt sense in your lower back. On your next exhale, I invite you to move your arms to the right and bend over your right knee. Hold and pause for 1 breath cycle. And on your next inhalation, I invite you to move your arms and lean over your left knee, pausing and inhaling for 1 breath cycle. On your next inhalation, return to center. And as you exhale, rise up to seated. Next, we'll experiment with eagle arms. On your next inhale, bring your arms up to shoulder length. And as you exhale, place your right arm under your left arm and twist your arms so that your palms are touching. Pause. On your next inhale, raise your arms and lean back. And as you exhale, cow, bend forward. Repeat for a few breath cycles, inhaling, arms up, head back. Exhaling, forward. After your next cycle, I invite you to return to seated. On your next inhalation, raise arms overhead, and as you exhale, lean to the right. Again, going only as far as is comfortable. Make sure that both sits bone are on the ground. Pause here and breathe for a few breath cycles. Perhaps noticing the floor beneath your hand and your bottom, noticing that it supports you. Perhaps sensing and noticing the strength of your right hand as it pushes into the floor, holding your body up. Maybe offering some appreciation to the floor for supporting you, as well as your arm and hand for supporting your body. Our bodies hold such strength. On the next inhale, rise up. Exhale, lower arms. I invite you now to reverse the position of your legs so that your left leg is in front of your right leg. Pause. On your next inhale, I invite you to raise arms overhead. And as you exhale, bend forward. Again, pausing wherever you feel the need. I again remind you of the concept that air is love, that air supports unconditionally, and as you breathe in that support. On your next inhale, I invite you to rise up, and as you exhale, lower your arms. We'll again experiment with eagle arms on the other side. On the next inhale, raise your arms up to shoulder length, and as you exhale, lower your left arm under your right arm, bringing your palms to touch. As you inhale, lean back and raise your arms, and as you exhale, I invite you to bend forward. Repeating this cycle 3 times, inhaling back, exhaling forward. Inhaling, arms up and back, exhaling forward. Inhaling, arms up and back, exhaling forward. On the next inhalation, return to center, and as you exhale, release your arms. On the next inhale, raise arms overhead, and as you exhale, lean to your left, allowing your left palm or lower arm to rest on the ground, making sure that your sits bone are connected to the ground. Hold and breathe for a few cycles. Perhaps noticing if there's any difference on this side. Perhaps again noticing the support of the ground beneath you and the strength of your left hand and arm as it holds your body. Perhaps noticing how the breath feels in this position as you breathe into your lower ribcage. On your next inhalation, rise up, and as you exhale, lower the arms and return to seated. We're going to experiment now with posing with our right leg out on the ground and our left leg tucked under, so that our left foot is in our pelvic region. Depending on your flexibility, your foot might sit slightly different. I'm going to inhale, arms overhead, and as you exhale, twist to your left. Hold for 2 breath cycles. On your next inhalation, raise your arms overhead, return to center. And as you exhale, turn to fall over your right foot. Again, going only as far as is comfortable for your body. Holding for a few breath cycles, noticing what it feels like in the lower rib cage, perhaps in your back as you breathe in this position. On your next inhalation, rise up, arms overhead, and as you exhale, lower your arms and switch your legs so that your left leg is extended to your side and your right leg is tucked in so that your foot is towards your pelvis. Pause. On your next inhalation, arms overhead. And as you exhale, turn and twist to the right. Pause. Take a few moments to breathe in this position. On your next inhalation, raise arms overhead, and as you exhale, twist to your left and lower yourself over your left leg. Again, listening to your body's unique needs and going only as far as is comfortable. If you notice any pain, back off a little bit. Hold and pause for 3 breath cycles. On your next inhalation, rise up and return to center as you exhale. I invite you now to make your way into Shavasana, or lying on your back. Take a moment to pause here. If you notice any discomfort in your low back, perhaps you bring your feet up so that your knees are bent, and perhaps you lean your knees towards one another. If you felt comfortable with your feet down, you may do so. If you want to put a prop under your knees, you may do so. Taking a moment to pause. to notice your breath, to notice the ground beneath you. Sometimes in life, it can feel like we don't have enough support. And by connecting with the ground and feeling the support it offers, sometimes our nervous center can center, relax, and sometimes we can feel more support. I invite you to remember the concept suggested at the beginning of our practice, that the air you breathe is love and light, and just like the ground, it supports you, loving you unconditionally, offering you the nurturance of air. And as you breathe in the air, you breathe in the love, and it fills every cell of your body. You can probably hear my dog in the background, reminding you that you too are loved, whole, enough. Take a moment to appreciate yourself for taking time out of your busy day to love yourself, to experiment with this gentle practice. When you are ready, I invite you to bring in some gentle movements, perhaps wiggling your fingers and your toes, perhaps circling your wrists, your ankles. And if you feel called to lean to either the right or the left and come into the fetal position, I invite you to do so now. If you feel called to stay in Shavasana, stay in Shavasana as long as you like. And when you are ready, I invite you to make your way to a comfortable seat. If you are in the seated position, I invite you to inhale, raising your arms overhead so that they touch palm to palm. And as you exhale, lower your palms in front of your chest. Pausing here, I invite you to take a moment to thank yourself for showing up for you, for loving yourself in this way. It takes courage to engage in this type of mindfulness practice, as it can reveal the parts of ourselves that are in pain. It takes courage to commit to self-care. A regular yoga practice can not only bring in greater self-awareness, but the ability to witness challenging sensations, emotions, and thoughts with compassion, bringing our awareness to the present moment with some ease and grace. I invite you to take a moment to thank those around you who also took time out of their day to sit in community with you, to care for themselves and for you, to share space, supporting one another. I invite you to offer thanks to the teachers who have shared the wisdom of yoga, and to all who have walked and walk the path of being a yoga or yogi. Remembering that you are never alone on this path, that there are millions of others experimenting with this practice alongside you. When you feel that lack of support, imagine all the others practicing yoga there in support of your practice. I invite you to notice any shifts in your mind, body, and emotions from when you arrived until now. Perhaps offering some great appreciation to all of you, to all the parts that make up your whole. Thank you for taking the courage in joining me today. If you feel called to do so, you may bring your hands to your brow and bow your head. May you bring this mindfulness into the rest of your day. If you have any questions about any of the practices or concepts from today, I invite you to reach out through my website, Blossoming Heart Counseling. I wish you well. Thank you. Namaste. The light in me sees the light in you.